Hello, hello, my friends. I hope you guys are doing well. We're officially live and streaming from 3 different platforms on a very important topic that definitely required to be addressed. And I hope you guys are going to get a lot of great information here. We're tackling in this Leadership Power Hour healing invisible wounds, and we will get to that in a moment. But I also want to make sure that you are having a chance to learn about my guest here, who volunteer his time to be here with us in the studio and share really real and raw and personal information. We live in times when so much is changing, isn't it? And with those changes, I think we are affected in different ways, either through our friends or our family members or through our loved ones that are, or colleagues at work that are struggling. And struggle is real. And very often, when it's with those invisible wounds, it's very challenging and difficult to really understand what is happening, specific when somebody's behavior is changing and when you see they're not able to do regular tasks, for example. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Chip Llorens. Chip is joining us from Texas. He is actor and he has very personal story here. Chip, how is everything going?
It's terrific, actually. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It is great to have you. And we are also having already here Rafia joining us, and thank you so much for being here with us as we progress with conversation. And please feel free to share any questions that you may have. But so Chip, we have some really interesting stuff going on, don't we? We're not being friends for years on Facebook, and as a colleagues and friends, we're seeing a lot of each other's posts. But we're also seeing what is really happening. That pandemic just shed some more light than ever before, which we find is anxiety, stress, depression, addictions, substance abuse, and true pain loss coupled with chronic illness or challenges and obstacles that people are facing. And as a result, something interesting is happening. So do you mind sharing a little bit about what happened in your world and what did you notice?
Well, that's a mouthful, actually, because, isolation, the way we were quarantined, it affects everybody differently, obviously. There are times where you're fighting depression. Not everything is going to go well in your life. And there's times when it got very, very dark. And so I was very lucky in a sense that I had a very good support system that I could reach out to. I even had friends that would just show up at the house. For no other reason, it's like, I'm just going to sit here, and that helped me tremendously. I recently lost a friend that I used to go to acting class with about a month ago because she took her own life. And that one hurt a lot. She was just 31 years old and beyond talented. And so that one hit pretty hard, but she was also a person that would literally post anything on Facebook. And it's like, there's a lot of times when, like she would post stuff and I would sit there and read it and go, I'm not sure I would have shared that. But she helped me. She helped me tremendously, but reading those, helping me through my struggle. And the biggest regret I think that I have is that I never told her. And you wonder, if she knew that she helped me, would she still have taken her own life? And so, yeah, I'm gonna carry that one for the rest of my life. So
thank you for sharing that specific moment, the breaking point that make a huge difference as we're really tackling again this very important topic, because every single one of us experienced someone who lost their life by suicide.
Yeah.
And the same thing, we can also imagine one person or one family that also did not lose someone they loved or knew due to COVID, right?
Yep.
And a lot of times people are not seeing the pattern here, but COVID, as you mentioned, creates more isolation, creates more pain, more suffering, because the life is not as used to be. Many things are abnormal, and not everybody have the capacity and faculty to really navigate that effectively. Most people, specifically men in this distance, I wanted to talk about, suffer in silence usually because it's hard for them to show emotions. The way you raise, the way you train, the way it's expected from society for you to be, right?
That is
Now,
absolutely correct.
and now we have opportunity, and why I'm also streaming this specifically on LinkedIn, we have major employers there. We have a major contributors that they're paying attention to their talent, what is going on with their talent, right?
Yep.
And that they should know it, specifically with remote work, and pick up on any of those warning signs. Because what I'm also seeing is that a lot of employers have really, like when we show up in Zoom, we appear cheerful and happy, we fake it till we make it, and then we go in this spiraling cycle of depression, lack of interest, or finding other ways to cope with that are just perpetuating the healing and getting better and getting well. So when you mentioned your colleague that lost her life, and that she helped you, but you felt like now when it's over that you could do more. Do you mind sharing? It's very hard to live with regrets, isn't it?
We all have it.
Yes.
I don't know a single person that does not have regret. And I'll be real blunt. I probably wouldn't trust you if you said that you didn't have regret. But that one, like I said, it's especially with Bonnie, it was more. She had an accident when she was younger, and those that knew her best said that she was never really the same. Because when I worked out with her, when I got to do scenes with her in class, it's you could tell acting is what made her glow. It's what lit her up inside. And I was extremely lucky anytime that I got to do a scene with her because I knew it was going to be good and we get to play. When she stopped coming to class, that's when I started seeing the posts, and that I knew something was wrong. I knew she was fighting her demons. But I got to tell you, I've said this regret, and there hasn't been one single person that hasn't come up to me and kind of slapped me upside the head figuratively and saying that was her struggle. And you can't know her demons. You've got your own. Believe me, I've got my own.
In reality, we all do, right? Mm-hmm. And the sad part is that we don't tap into people that show up in our lives with open heart, with true intent to just be there for one another, with no hidden agenda, wanted to just be the beautiful friend that you can count on 24/7, to wanted to be there because you matter to them, because they value you, they love you, they care about you.
They're in your life for a reason.
Exactly. And one interesting thing is that I'm seeing a lot of pattern, specifically men again, that they're reluctant to take that because it's considered them to be weak, or reluctant to take that because nobody else understands them. How can you possibly do that? Yeah. And I don't want to ever throw my ticket and cards to say, but my experience, led me to be expert or capable or able, because it's not about that, right? It's about just allowing to say, I really do have a struggle. I really do need a time alone, but as soon as I get a little bit, my footings, I will reach out, or anything that happens in between, I am there first to call. I'm not going to attempt to do anything till I have a chance to speak with you. And making that pact, right? Making the pact that you're going to follow through, because we see this with famous people. We see this with people that have a lot of pressure and responsibility in C-suite. we're seeing this tremendously with the youth, unfortunately, right now, because people don't know how to cope with the pain that they're experiencing.
We're
And
seeing way too many young people take their own lives, much more so than I remember.
that
Um,
is so very true. And in certain states more than the others, actually, which is also interesting, is a climate, is a desolate area, is it what the
yeah.
factors are, right? Is
Hmm.
the social economic aspects. And bottom line is when we look at it, yes, it is some criteria that affect more in different regions and different areas, but it's also about how we were raised, right? And how
Yeah.
about upbringing and our support system.
For me, like I said, I was always the one, and I'm still proud to say that I'm the one that most people come to for advice, or they come to, look, I'm not feeling myself, and I just need a shoulder. And when it was my turn, um, I let it go a little bit longer than it should have been before I reached out, because
Mm,
I myself, went through the same thing. No, I'm stronger than this. I can take care of it. But the best that I can describe it is it's a feeling like you're drowning in liquid darkness, and
mm,
you don't see a way out. That's the damning thing about what I went through. And
mm.
I was completely empty. I didn't care whether I stayed or whether I went. It didn't matter. And so that that scared me, because that's something, hey, I've had depression before. I've had sadness. I've lost friends. We it's life, you know. No one gets out. I'm trying to remember the actor that it's attributed to. None of us get out alive, you know.
Yes.
It's what we do here that matters, though. That's the most important thing. And so I'm proud to say that I'm there for all of my friends, that they know that all you need to do is pick up a phone, and that's it. And there's
Mm.
no judgment. There's nothing. But when it came my turn to do it, I didn't follow my own advice in the beginning, and it almost cost me my life.
I love what you just said, and we have here great comments from Kareem, and that says also that honesty of an amazing discussion and rawness and realness about it and addressing topics like this, it's very rare. So Kareem, thank you, and that's one of the reasons, Kareem, with your help and support and everybody else that is commenting here on LinkedIn, that is really crucial, because we cannot anymore avoid the elephants in the room. These elephants are present everywhere, in work settings, in personal life, in obviously professional life, but also in communities, right? We see the things. And a lot of times, because we're so overwhelmed what's going on with us, we also have to say, at that moment, I was not aware of, or at that moment, I didn't have a bandwidth. At that moment, I was not as conscious, or I was not in a good shape, or not well enough. Sometimes we also have to face and assess. I had a similar situation in August and the perpetrator in September, when somebody reached out that I used to know and be close with years ago, actually over a decade ago, and wish me happy birthday. And I sent a nice video, with a nice message, but he obviously wanted to talk. And I didn't respond either. And what turns out later on, he committed suicide. He found
Yeah.
that, and was one of the hardest things, right? And when you look at how much of loss we have beside the COVID, of colleagues and friends that we know, or people that are affected, or family members, and then also now seeing that, or seeing people struggling, that they're having those issues, right? But just simply don't know the path forward. So we also have something that Aline said very beautifully, and thank you so much for saying that, that encourager needs encouragement. And you so spot, Aline, such a beautiful words of wisdom. And thank you so much for showing up. Feel free to ask the questions as well, Rafia and everybody
I'll answer anything that you want.
else. Thank
Anything.
you. Thank you. But Chip, this is where really we're seeing a lot of problems also. We're seeing more than ever patterns that are really shocking, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing adults in cyberspace bullying each other. We see a lot of anger. We see a lot of frustration, toxicity, negativity. We see a lot of destruction and very destructive behaviors, right? And then on top of it, we see these guys who are trying to so hard to be strong and look strong and deal with the demons, and they run into a lot of challenges. And this is a beautiful segue for the question that Karim is asking. What methods do we follow if we want to can find this honest friend who can take care of us?
There's so many things out there. Even here in Austin, there's free clinics where you can just go in and talk to somebody. I mean, sometimes that's all you need. Is just to be able to talk it out. Get it off your chest, because like I said, I was guilty of it myself. I just internalized it. I tend to eat my grief, so I put on some pounds doing all of this. But there's always somebody that you can talk to. You got to reach out. The communication is everything with this topic, because if you don't articulate what you're going through, how is anyone going to be able to help you? And I refuse to believe that there isn't anyone that's listening to us right now that you don't have at least one person that you can go to. You may not realize you have it because maybe you haven't brought it up.
Yes.
Okay. You may not realize that, again, those people are in your life for a reason. They love you. They want the best for you. Even if it's not family, surely you have a friend, that maybe you can, discuss this with, but you got to be willing to communicate. That's the thing. It's that, and you said it very, very well. We guys, we're not the best at that. I'm lucky because I get paid to show emotion, and my coach and mentor, Marco, excuse me, said it best, that it's like a form of therapy for us. When you're playing a hero, you're playing a villain, your anger, sadness, love, all of these things, even if it's in a comedic scene, that's a release. And I've played some really bad people before, trust me, like characters that you really don't want to be anywhere near these people. But you also have to remember is that there is no person that is 100% good, and there is no person that is 100% bad. Okay, we all have this inside of us. So all of us are going to have somebody in their lives that is going to be able to relate to what you're going through on some level. It may not be the exact reason why you're depressed. It may not be the exact reason why you feel the darkness, but they're going through it too.
Yes. That is excellent points. And to answer also and expand on Karim's question, Karim, if you don't have a trusted friend, I will highly recommend, or being double advocate for others, I will highly recommend to extend your friendships and circle of friends and people of influence and people that you can trust, even if it's just business relationship, that that they have your back. And as Chip pointed out, how important it is to have the opportunity to have someone, right? Sometimes if you don't strictly have no one, 911 call can be the lifesaver, and they know where to put you. I know that a lot of people are here global. They don't have the same infrastructure and support systems as the United States. Not every system is as effective, even in the United States. So we need to recognize all of that, but also just being prepared to say, I need to then figure it out who are my friends that I could call 24/7 and who has my back, and don't push people that love you unconditionally away. That is so rare, and it's extremely important, specifically in times of challenges and difficulties. And we see here from Rebecca, a beautiful comment. Thank you for both for discussion. We need to do more to remove the shame or stigma surrounding depression and suicide. And thank you for sharing, Chip. Big hugs. That's beautiful, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time to give your beautiful perspective. I also hear from Rafwa. I lost my son to gun violence in July of last year and stepped away
I'm
from
so sorry.
management. I'm so sorry to hear that. Big, huge hugs to you. And career for over 25 years in December. That must be very difficult and challenging. And I have found sometimes it's hard to find your own words to ask for help. Like Chip said, it is a blessing to have people that checks in regardless.
Yeah.
And that is, thank you for saying that, because it's so hard to know how much of that we should do. I was just talking with Chip about my personal situation with someone who I dearly love, who doesn't know how to respond or take support, but pushes people away, or at least pushed me away. And you don't know how serious it is. You don't know how how much you struggle with there, and you don't know how much you should insert yourself, no matter how greatly equipped and skilled and capable and able I am, for example, right? You still wanted to it's a fine dance, right? And sometimes just enough to say, hey there, just wanted to know I'm here for you if you need anything. Or hey there, call
Just
me,
touch them.
when you're ready. Because sometimes just those periodic light-hearted checks with smiley face or emojis or hugs or positive emotions can make tremendous.
Wish them a good day. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. Hope to talk to you soon. That's it. If they're pushing you away, you can't let them do that, especially if you feel like they're going through, through an episode or something bad, because you don't know if you're going to get that chance again. And
Yes.
a lot of times it's all you can do is just check in on them. Big love to you. Hope you're doing fantastic. Looking forward to seeing you again, maybe for a drink or maybe, for dinner, or just touch them,
Yes.
email, text, something.
Yes, and then we're seeing here that that confirmation, the self-care like messages is also really great help and very helpful. Absolutely, and thank you again for being open and sharing that with us. Because for mother to lose their child prematurely,
I
father
wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
and it's
I
a
am so sorry.
very, very challenging, because it's also leaves so much for the loved ones with unanswered questions and regret, and then sense of guilt, right? What can we do, and what we possibly could do more? And sometimes it's just a circumstantial combination of things. And interestingly, again, I want to highlight the suicides are happening way more than we realize. And because of COVID and other factors, a lot of people don't know what happened, or they think it's was due to COVID or some accident or whatever. But then also they're realizing how little they truly did extend generally themselves as a colleague, as a business partner, as someone who they have in their close circle, who served them, loved them, cared and supported them unconditionally, and yet they did not show up. So we have to have a more self-awareness, who we are and to whom, and how do we come across, and are we really intentionally serving in the best possible ways where we really can make a tremendous impact, or we're not, and where the opportunities are, right?
I did insurance for 20 years, surplus lines. I still have my license, and I worked with several large agencies in Puerto Rico and in Florida, where I would basically, talking to management. I worked at Dell for 2.5 years. So that, I was in the middle of a prairie dog town with 1,000 of your closest friends. All of these people, most corporations, I believe, have something in place, even if it's just HR, that you can go talk to. Like, look, I'm struggling with this. But if it's a coworker, and if it's a big corporation, they may not be close to you, but touch, like I said, email, even if it's just walking past their desk. How you doing? You doing good? Something, we get, especially with business. And when I was in the business world, you're driven. I've got a goal. I've got to go meet. I've got a sale. I've got to go make. I've got something I have to do today for work. This is how I put food on the table. And a lot of times you don't look left or right. You're trying to stay in your lane to try to get, whatever you need done. And that's not always the healthiest thing to do. Okay. Especially if, if somebody's struggling, an environment like that can exacerbate that. Like all of a sudden, it's like you feel like you don't matter. I'm just a cog, And if you're feeling depression, boy, it's like somebody at the bottom of a swimming pool that just grabbed your leg and is pulling you down. So it's important to reach out.
I love it, and glad you're addressing this. And I was also checking on the Facebook. We're getting a lot of engagement here. Our very good friend Brian saying a critical topic. Thank goodness we're becoming more aware. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that. And then also we're having from Niloy, who is talking about for the youngsters and younger generations, if we're adults don't figure things out, how challenging it's going to be for our children or children of that we love, that we care about, friends and family, or our partners or loved ones, because we have to, because they're mirroring what we're doing, right? And specifically boys, they're mirroring their dads, they're mirroring.
They're sponges. they're sponges. They're gonna drink all of that in.
Yes, and it's also affecting a lot of relationships, right? And we're also hearing this fantastic comment, and thank you so much for being with us here and saying that not only it's a great to have this commitment about intentionally helping and looking for to help others and opportunities for that. So thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to ask any questions that we're talking, because this is just something that we're going to do every Wednesday for remainder of the remainder of the year, by offering that additional support and addressing, as I call it, elephant in the room. Why we're talking about this is obviously for someone who has been involved for decades with people that are going through worst possible atrocities, as well as people that did not maybe experience much, but doesn't matter if you've been on wide range of spectrum or anywhere in between. Anything that can happen that triggers, that creates a situation, can affect you, can increase your stress, can increase your anxiety, can start putting you in the depression spell. A lot of times the people that never been depressed before don't have no idea what's going on with them, can alter your personality, your behavior. From behavioral standpoint, as behavioralist, I can depict and detect not only non-verbal and what's being said, but what's not being said, and then also changing that nonverbal behavior, right? And that can also be very triggering.
Yeah, that's a very important point that you just made as well. It's also what is not being said.
Exactly.
Okay, that is so important to to get out there, because especially if you know somebody and you love them, and all of a sudden that behavior changes, something happened. Okay, that doesn't happen. We are all. We all have our own individual personalities, but if you see behavior change like that, and like that's not like Bob, or that's not like him to do something like that, something's going on. Okay, sometimes it manifests in self-harm, not just suicide. They sabotage themselves. I have a number of friends and dear friends that are service members, and several that went over, to Afghanistan, and they fight this every day. One of my very good friends, Dallas, also happened to direct me in my last film. Always brought up the fact that I've lost 26 brothers. I have a very dear friend, another actress. She used to be a helicopter pilot, and she deals with this. It doesn't always manifest the same in everybody, because I really believe that you brought up an extremely good point, because if they're isolating and they're not talking, something's wrong. Okay. And you need to go and touch those people and email, even if you just come knock on the door. What Seinfeld said, that the drop in. You just, you drive by their house and you knock on the door. Haven't heard from you in, several weeks, or haven't heard from you in this and whatever. What's up? Maybe they're mad at you, but at least you're going to find out, because the alternative is horrible. Like I said, Bonnie wasn't the first that I lost, to suicide. So,
And that is very hard to see. And thank you for expanding a little bit on that, Chip, because what we're seeing also, and I love that you mentioned former military, because for everybody that knows me, they know that for over a decade I rehabilitate genocide, torture, war trauma, human traffic, rape victims from all over the world, over 120 countries. And it doesn't mean just because you had already severe trauma that unless you work so obviously on yourself, it's going to be easily, again, to re-traumatize you. But also that doesn't mean for someone who did not experience anything that one event will just simply be easy for them to deal with.
mhm,
Everybody have a different strength and different threshold. Everybody gets triggered on something, specific on things if they are not healed.
yeah,
And how important it is to heal these invisible wounds. And the reason I'm sharing this because I work with some of the most prestigious attorneys, as well as psychiatrists, psychologists, people that are really examining and looking not from different social service, social workers, case workers, you name it, as well obviously as clients. Clients and veterans, people that came from combat, from all different side of it. So you're right. Some of them have the chronic pain. Some of them just established for first time just what happened, for example, during September 11th.
yeah,
Some people were absolutely taken by that, and they still have things that they cannot understand it.
yeah.
That they're coping the best they can, but something that happened so long ago that is still triggering. It's a great opportunity to really examine where is the opportunity to heal. I'm not using this as just an example.
Well, and that's a great example as well, because I have another friend that lost a cousin in Tower 2. And I would make it a point to send her a text every September 11th. And I've never missed a day. Okay. She used to just go out Key Biscayne and just have a beer in his honor by herself. No family. She has two beautiful kids. They were both grown up now. God, I'm old. And her husband, um, those, you know, I, I love them dearly. They're family. And I can't imagine missing a September 11th where I didn't at least tell her I'm thinking of you today.
And that is so beautiful and that is so powerful. And this is where all starts, guys. And this is why it's so pivotal. We lost something the most precious, most important without even realizing, which is true, genuine connections, human connections, beautiful human interactions, opportunity just to shine and be yourself without ever worried, are you going to be judged? Are you going to be scolded? Are you going to be ghosted? Are you going to be hurt? Or whatever it is. Sadly, world has plenty of pain and hurt. And seeing people being reckless with other people's emotions. You have no idea what somebody's going through.
Yeah.
Step up, be better human. Every single one of us can do better and be more and do more. And the humanity aspects of it doesn't matter if somebody's acting out, it's on them. But why they're acting out? What is their cry for help? Is their cry because you're so much tormented in pain? Is it because of toxic relationship and environment? Is it because they were raised, or is it because of snowballing effect? Because in the lifespan, by the time we reach 50, we went through so much already. Even though you have a bigger threshold, it doesn't mean you recover from harshness, from rudeness, from disrespect, from the pain, from recklessness, from being hurt by someone you love to trust the most. And when letting people look at that, they're like, what do I have something to live for or look up to? Yeah. Because when people in my closest circle are not caring or not recognizing, not seeing me, not seeing what is going on. The other flip side of that is if we're not sharing what is going on, it's hard. It's easy to neglect that because we live in very busy environments. When people are multitasking, when people are executing, when people are not fully present, Right now, intentionally, you and I, Chip, spontaneously creating sit-down session in extremely busy schedule, midst of the day, midst of the week, with every single one of us that has so much to do and places to go and things to accomplish. What matters most is also this fact, let's pause. How can we be of the value? How can we bring that value for others? How can we bring more awareness? Because guys, the reason why I'm saying this, it's serious. This next 2 months, the hardest months for people, specifically in hemisphere where we're in the winter time, when it's nights days are shorter and nights are longer, where it's harsh and it's cold, and where it's again solitude, like in Chip's case, both of us were talking about when you live by yourself, when you have to have extra effort to go and reach out for someone physically to see people, when we work so much virtually, where we don't see people's faces, when we don't see people's smiles, when we don't get these beautiful bear hugs, right? When we do not interact in a way we used to. All of those things create chronic fatigue, burnout, stress, depression, lethargy. You don't even know what is going on with you, right? Till really hits you months down the road.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that you don't, a lot of times you don't realize you're on that downward path. You don't really realize that you're not being the best version of yourself, and you're cheating yourself. It doesn't have to be suicide. Maybe your work suffers. Okay. Maybe your family life suffers, you know, but it affects you. And then you look up and it's, how the hell did I get here? You don't realize that you're on that slide until sometimes too late.
Yes.
And so that's why I still believe, communication is important.
It's the most essential, and I really cannot agree more. And reason why, when we do not communicate what we should, we let other people also feel really uncomfortable and feel helpless, right?
Right.
And sometimes some people do that purposely, but if you're doing this subconsciously, correct that,
Yeah.
because everybody's life matter. If you don't have self-love, you will not value and respect others' lives.
You need to do something for yourself every day. You got to be selfish. Okay. You can't just give everything away, because if you don't check in with yourself, this is how it exacerbates. This is how it snowballs. And so, it's just, even if it's just a mental, okay, well, that day sucked, or, whatever, go do something, to change that mood, even if it's just sitting with your family, if it's something that is enjoyable to you. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's unbelievable how much, how I see people go through that. And it's like, it's almost self-sabotaging, when you get into those kind of patterns, and you don't realize you're doing it. You may be hurting somebody else and you don't realize you're doing it. Was I just rude to that person? And, let me go correct that. Be willing to look inside.
I love it. And more than ever, this is what I wanted to say, as on quest as a world messenger, and as loving so many cultures and opportunities that I'm being exposed to work with people from beautiful countries and cultural things. A lot of stuff also, how we're raised, obviously fundamental, right? What we're being brought into this world, and makes huge difference. But if you were brought in broken homes, you have chance to heal, because and the saddest thing is for me to see people in their 50s still dealing with childhood wounds that are keeping them handicapped in connecting and having meaningful, loving, caring relationships, and having the intimacy they desire.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about here sexual intimacy, but intimacy to connect with another human being,
Yeah.
to connect also and work with their colleagues, to build good relationships, to perform in the best way, to have a strong confidence and self-esteem, because everything is interconnected, right?
Yes.
And when we start adding all these numbing devices, drinking, drugs, whatever addictions of wide range that specifically men are prone to, then we're running into very destructive behaviors at work and destructive behaviors in our personal life because no separation there anymore, right?
You need to give yourself a break. You got to give yourself a break. I can't emphasize that enough. It's funny. I broken home. My parents divorced when I was 8. I was very, very lucky in a sense that they stayed good friends, even though my dad was in Puerto Rico and we were here in Austin. And so we got to stay in touch, and there was no animosity there between the two. My stepmom, who I love dearly, and unfortunately she's in her final stages of dementia, and we don't know how much longer she's going to be with us. But when she was, she was this just spitfire redheaded Cuban. And if you didn't think she didn't let you have it between the eyes, oh my goodness, just wham. But we got lucky again because my mom and my stepmom were like sisters. Every time they came to visit for Christmas or something like that, those two, were off and running and doing whatever they wanted to do. And it was, I believe me, I know I had it lucky. I know how lucky I am. And not everybody has that, but I'm going to go back. Everybody has somebody you can reach out to. Everybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. It could be a coworker. Hey, do you mind? I got to bend your ear for 5 minutes. I'm going through some stuff, and I don't feel I have anyone else I can talk to. Everybody has somebody, so it's important.
And I love what you said there, and then how we can also be conduit and bring family unit together, bring love and harmony, and be there for people as they're exiting, as you see that they're dying from natural causes. That is also beautiful. Elderly are being more in isolation and more strapped than any other generation in population right now because of restrictions before vaccination, because of their illnesses or whatever might be the case. And it's also sad to see, but some people refuse to eat because they didn't want to live anymore because it's just a magnitude of sorrow, sadness. So again, with a positive, constructive way to look at things right now, why we're doing what we're doing here and commitment to be here till next 2 months, specific around these topics with the different guests, with different conversations, is because we're the people suffer the most. Holiday time brings so much joy to many, but also brings so much pain to so many that we don't even know. And specific when you don't have living parents, for example, when you don't have a family close, when you feel like you are on your own, when you take in the world's problem on your own shoulders, or whatever might be situation, it's opportunity also to look at, right? For example, I remember every Thanksgiving for years, I would volunteer and I would do volunteer work in my specific charity and help people. And I remember, and I always thought about how it's challenging and difficult to be for so many years homeless and have the burden of harshness, not only of the weather, but harshness of people, the harshness of how they're perceived, that they're not seen and visibly as a humans. And that's how often and how far we go and how we neglect and how we forget that we all stem from the same roots. And then how can we expect we're going to treat animals or anybody else better? And the reason I'm saying again, you guys here, specifically for my LinkedIn colleagues that are listening, and I know you're watching, you might not be participating, but I know deep down, you have your own demons. Deep down, you're also trying to figure out how to navigate something. It's not anymore about, did I get a job and how to keep a job and about the money. It's not about anymore, did I get a word and how did I get up and up and left some people behind? And how do I prove myself and feed my ego how great and capable I am? All of those things will happen naturally without you even needed to. When you nurture relationship in the way that truly are coming from genuine interest, from support, from kindness, from compassion, and deep desire to connect. If nothing, this COVID taught us that, right?
Yep.
what those meaningful relationships look like and what they don't, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, I couldn't have put it better, myself. If you reach out, it's unbelievable how the universe will pay you back. If you're willing to help someone that's in trouble, it's unbelievable how the universe will pay you back. It's I don't know any other way to put that, And if you're willing to help and you're able to help, wow, that feeling is like I said, I'm proud to say that I have friends that I'm the one that they go to. I can't tell you what a great feeling that is that I'm able to assist somebody.
And I wanted to just to say, and that's a beautiful shift, because when you have that same persona, even though some people never met, and when it's virtual and people now generally know where you stand and who you are and what it's about, it's so easy to reach out and say, hey, do you have a few minutes? I really would love to run this by you. Or a man, and reason why I also pointed out, we're going to be having some specific men's group and support systems, and we'll share things in the links below. But more than anything, what's so important it is, even myself, like for everybody's like, you're super tough, you're on top of your game, you're helping so many people. I have my own moments when I struggle, when I have more on my plate, when I'm dealing with some personal stuff. And it's just so beautiful to know, because ultimately everybody needs support system, and everybody needs the coach. Everybody needs that mentor or that counselor or that specific friend that's not going to judge, that's going to listen, and is going to be there for you, right? How long took you to get out of your depression cycle? I know you said you had a very strong,
I was lucky
last year.
Yeah, I was lucky. I mean, there was one night in particular last year where I'll be real blunt, I shouldn't be here. That's the truth. And I had a friend just come by and just sit down with me, and that was it. I have my moments still. I mean, the depression, you can deal with it, but when you go that deep, it's not linear. Like the recovery is never linear. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have days where, my God, if I laugh anymore, my sides are gonna burst. What an awesome day! Why can't every day be like this?
Yes. But the highs are high. They're great, right?
Oh my God! But we wouldn't be human if we didn't have those highs and lows. This is what makes us is the struggle. It's never the destination. Even in my acting, I have more fun and I get more fulfillment out of preparing for that role, creating that character, than I do actually performing it. It's
getting into character and that mindset. Yes.
Yeah. And again, for me, it's therapy. We're expected to have a monologue in case we have an audition, usually about a minute long. And it's one that every actor should have in their back pocket. You should be able to drop a scene right there and give the character, a fully fledged character. I'll sometimes just practice that, even if I'm by myself, that gives me fulfillment as well. And mine is Tom Hanks's monologue at the end of Castaway when he loses Kelly.
Yes.
And I can tell you, it took me about a month and a half to hold my mud and be able to get through it, because there were not manly tears, and you're trying to be strong, because at the end of that monologue he has moved on, because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring. Love it. And I wanted to perform that. But whoa, when he goes into the loss of Kelly, and I'm so grateful she was with me. I'm so sad I've lost Kelly, but I'm so grateful she was with me there on that island. I would lose it every time. I mean, it's like I still can't watch the end of It's a Wonderful Life with people. To my brother George, the richest man in town, dead. But it also helps me with what I do, and it's easier for me being an actor to be able to have those emotions, and not everyone is wired like that. And so if you're not wired that way, you need to have an outlet. You cannot hold that in because you will explode. You can only take so much, and you need to be able to share. Okay. And you need to learn, even if it's a phrase or something, you need to be able to release that anger, tension, depression, whatever it is that you're going through. You need an outlet. Okay. One of the things that my mom told me, because she knew I was struggling with Bonnie, and I'm still struggling with Bonnie, she told me just sit down and talk to her. Talk to her as if she was in the room with you. Okay.
Mm.
And it helped me. I can tell you that helped me. For some people, and I have a dear friend that still goes to therapy every month, and that's what helps him. It doesn't necessarily need to be a professional. If you're experiencing loss, or if you're experiencing, depression, talk to the houseplant if you have to, you know, but get that out, get it out, it'd be much better if you go see somebody, or a friend, a family member. But if you don't, I'm still telling you, I don't care if it's the convenience store clerk, and that's the one that you see the most, go talk to them. You got 5 minutes. I got to get this off my chest, because all of this is that human touch, coming back at you, and it's like, man, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you're going through this. What's your name again? you know, but, at least, but it's that interaction and getting it out. It's almost like poison. When I was dieting, and, we actors, we kind of, we're not normal people. Um, and one of the things that I learned when I was doing keto is your body treats alcohol like it's poison. It literally will stop everything else until you get that out. Your feelings and your emotions are exactly the same way. Okay. If you are feeling grief, if you're feeling depression, you got to get that out. Okay. Because as you said, it affects everything else about your life. Everything.
I love how you also, even though like when you lose the friend, don't have the closure, but you can still have a closure for you in a way that helped you. And I think that's great advice.
It
And
helped
just
me.
and then talking to anyone,
Mhm.
or just simply talking, as you said, to yourself, and sometimes also being that loud about it, what is going on, right? And then again, life is very fluid, it's very dynamic, a lot of things are happening.
Yep.
We tend to focus on all positive and great, which is fantastic. But life is also with all the blends and mixes of unexpected and also things that we don't necessarily care for, but we have to, right?
Yeah.
And when we're not doing well, everything is extra challenging, extra difficult,
Yeah.
and requires extra energy. So if we're not working on getting that energy to be fluid, to be healthy, to be stable, to be consistent, we're going to deplete it very, very quickly. And when depression takes and swoops over, that's why people really have the biggest challenge to deal with.
Yeah.
They cannot concentrate, they cannot be upbeat, they cannot they cannot just simply live quality life.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, one of the things I'm seeing that is more than ever needed, and I'm sure Chip, you will agree with this, how much more we need to be tolerant towards each other, how much we need
Absolutely.
to create space, how much we need to have the yin and yang dance, how easy it's to be judgmental, how easy it's just to assume, how easy it's just to dismiss,
Yeah.
how easy it's not to be available and not willing and not to care, just be self-absorbed. And this is
Yeah.
a great opportunity, specifically in this country, to cut that self-absorbing behaviors and then shift towards opening up and caring, just simply caring, no matter what, caring for others. So With that in mind, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Some actionable things for everyone. We're going to have obviously some of the great resources available on the links on the live here that we have on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. But more than anything, I just wanted to invite you in these conversations that we're going to have moving forward every Wednesday to the remainder of the year, because this is the way to give the back, to open up, not just you as an audience here to participate, which we're deeply grateful with all amazing questions, but also for others to have a dialogue. So more dialogues at workplace, with the teams, with more honesty, with more trust, with more understanding, with more flexibility, with more support, and genuine care, with more opportunities, because this is the time to watch everyone very, very closely. You don't have no ideas. As we know, the most people that always appear the most happiest wanted to have the biggest struggle. You never know when their moment of weakness will show up and where they may lose the battle. The other thing I want to also emphasize how important it is to share the journey. So Chip, you've been amazing to share your journey today and share what you've been going through, and humbly what happened last year for you personally, what happened with your great friend that is also fellow actress, and that she committed suicide with such amazing blooming career ahead of her.
She was only 31 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. And it breaks my heart, because I don't get to, and this is me being selfish now. It also breaks my heart because I don't get to play with her anymore. You know, and that's a little selfish on my end, but
it's beautiful too, because people don't know how much they mean to us. They don't know how much we really appreciate them and how we love to have them in our world. Even if it's just as a friend, doesn't matter. You know, it's just because why? Because we don't traditionally say that enough.
Nope.
We do not, and if we do, then could be perceived or misconstrued in all these different negative ways, right? And that's why we hold back. So it's an opportunity also to take these labeling and stigma away and be human first and foremost, right?
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
say, obviously, we never lived the most complex times and we live right now. And never so dramatically changing, and not everybody is open for change. Not everybody is fluid with transformation that is going to take years and years, with intentions, with commission and reinforcement that we impose on ourselves, let alone when it's things imposed with the force, upon us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any closing remarks, Chip, that you'd like to leave the audience with, how they can start healing their invisible wounds?
You know, I can't say it enough, about communication, but even this, being able to share my story and what I went through helped. Like, this is a good day, so again, that's me being selfish.
But it's so beautiful too, because that is the healing power, talking about it. And I'll kudos you for being so candid to jump on live on 3 different platforms with audience that doesn't even know you yet. It's so broad, you don't have no idea how far it's going to go in terms of the reach for your maybe former colleagues or whatever might be the case, your friends, or to hear the side never seen and heard before. Yeah. And the level of vulnerability. But why we're doing what we're doing here again is we can help and save one life would be phenomenal, because
Absolutely.
sad truth is, in the last year and a half, or almost 2 years actually, since all of this started happening, I had lost 8 people in my circle of friends and colleagues. And that is a lot to really deal with, not because of the COVID, but because of all of those things we talked about that created that they just felt like was no any other way around. Some of them ranging from very successful business professionals, some of them ranging from former military guys that never really addressed their emotional stuff. They never built emotional capacity. They were phenomenal to deal with their intellectually, but emotionally they felt crippled, and they never felt like they could be able to deal with the magnitude of problems and the way they were shutting themselves down, because they just felt that they're only one going through it and nobody can help them. And that's why we're doing this. So you can see it is definitely help out there, and you're not the only one that is struggling. And it's okay. You don't have to confess and admit and share this publicly. Feel free to reach privately. but is the opportunity just to say, you're not alone. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And we're here for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have such a great comment here, thanking us for discussion and great advice. Thank you so much for your participation, for great comments and being us with us. I love the idea of taking out emotions, even as a seen as a dialogue. Yes, see, that's what happens when you have an actor sharing his journey of feeling highly depressed and suicidal thoughts, as well as sharing loss of his friend and friends as a result of suicide and suicidal thoughts, and how then it's permanent pain, then it takes time to go away.
Yeah.
And an opportunity, what we can do, and issues that we hide that can really resurface, and you never know how they're going to in fact impact people around you. So make sure that you're doing things correctly, because if they impact people around you in a negative way, what happens? We know, right?
Oh yeah.
That we're damaging other people, and we don't want to do that. We already see plenty of damage, don't we?
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So it's, you matter. If you're listening to me or watching me, you matter. Okay. And sometimes you don't realize how much you matter. Okay. Because there's somebody out there depends on you as well.
Mm.
It's you got to reach out. You got to reach out.
That is beautiful. And I just want to say every single one of you matters, specifically the ones that are suffering and struggling in silence and thinking that it's no hope or no energy or no desire. For the ones that are really on the bottom of that energetic pole, I know sometimes you don't even want to talk. Just say, I need a hug.
That's it.
Or just say, I need all of those other things to be taken care of. Say what exactly you need and demand by asking. Just ask, because people cannot figure it out unless you tell them. So I will urge everybody that is struggling on that end, ask. And you might be surprised how many people will turn up for you.
You will be shocked.
And
because, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yes.
And when you're in that dark hole, it's real simple to stay there and to go deeper. It's an old joke. If you're in a hole, stop digging. Stop. You're gonna be shocked at how many people in your life are gonna be there for you. I know I'm grateful every day.
That's fantastic. And thank you again for phenomenal conversation here today and springboarding the very important topic. Specifically, we're getting in the holiday seasons, we're getting into darker, longer nights and shorter days, things that are really challenging us, trigger us to create a lot of pain, but also just from nowhere. It doesn't have to be, just create more suffering than usually, and opportunity again to seek professional help, to reach out to friends and support one another. Thank you everyone for watching, for listening, for commenting, for participating. It's just been a great conversation in this first series and healing on visible wounds. And we cannot wait to hear from you guys next Wednesday at the same time and same place. Have a fantastic rest of the day.